Hi artists, today our famous artist is Gustav Klimt. He is part of the Art Nouveau period, and this piece is called The Tree of Life. And the original is actually this beautiful mosaic, so it's made of all different types of materials. He used marble, which is a lot of the times what your countertops are made of. He also used tile, so the tile in your shower, on your floor, pearls, and even gold leaf. And so the materials today, we're going to use our colored pencils on a black paper. If you don't have black construction paper, you can also use any other darker color. But if you don't have any colored paper, you can always use white paper, that's fine. And for our gold, I'm going to be using a gold Sharpie. If you do have any metallic, like really shiny colors like gold, silver, bronze, any of those, that will just add to the luminous quality of our piece. But if not, you can just use what you have on hand, like a yellow or orange colored pencil, and layer it up. So we're going to be starting out with a line drawing using my white. So since we have black paper, white is best. I'm going to use it because it creates a big contrast between the background and our paper. You can also use a pencil, that's fine too. So the first thing I want to talk about is the orientation. So this is in portrait, so it's tall versus long. And so we're going to have our paper in portrait orientation, and then I'm going to do a horizon line. So the horizon line is the line that separates the land from the sky. So we have this nice horizon line right here at the bottom. And so using your white colored pencil or your pencil, you're just going to do a slightly curved line from the bottom of the paper, curving over to the left side of the paper. Since this is a really dark black background, it suggests that this is a night landscape, so this is a scene from the nighttime. The next thing we're going to do is put some planting dots for the tree. So the Tree of Life creates this beautiful design with all these spirals and curved lines. So before we do that, we're going to add the tree trunk. So going from the middle, because it's placed just in the middle, there's a lot of great balance here. I'm going to put a planting dot about 1/3 down from the top of the paper. And then I'm going to do some really light sketches of the tree trunk. So trees are super resilient, super strong, and so they have these roots that go deep into the earth. And so you definitely want to make sure that the bottom of the tree trunk, where the roots would start, is going to be more thick, and then it becomes thin as it goes to the top. The next thing I'm going to do is start to create the branches. So starting from the top here, we see that it splits from the left to the right. So from your planting dot, you're going to do a curved line curving over towards the left, and then it's going to curve around to create this beautiful spiral shape. So a spiral is just a curved line that curves all the way in on itself. The next thing I'm going to do is curve towards the right. So from that planting dot, I'm going to guide my pencil and do a curved line curving around, creating the spiral. And then from the top of the tree trunk, I'm going to do a curve curving over towards the left and down and into itself. So this is where we are right here, looking at our reference. And then from the right side, it's going to curve around and follow into the curve, and then add another curve over to the side. So we are just going to continue this type of really flowy application of lines. So I want you to just really relax and add these curved lines onto your piece. You can follow along with me if you'd like to go off of the original, or if you feel like just flowing through it on your own, then you can just look at the photo that we have here of our Tree of Life and start to add all of those spirals and curves. Another thing to look at is the negative space. So the negative space is the space in between. So the black space that is right before the other ones. So just take your time and really just allow your pencil to follow along. You can go from the left side over to the right, or you can just bounce between both. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. Just we're going to add all of these curves here. So the amazing thing about this piece is it's actually a part of 3 different panels. So the artist created this Tree of Life, which is one of the most famous of his artwork creations, and he also created 2 more, and they used to be hung in a dining room. And so when the light would hit them, they would create this really amazing kind of glittering quality, just because of the different semi-precious pearls and stones. And so a lot of the different embellishments you can see here, the lighter colors, also in the flowers, he used a lot of different types of gems. So those of you that really love using, you know, sparkly, glittery things, this is definitely an artist to check out. So another reason why I started with the white is because you will notice when we go into the colored pencils that colors look very different on different colored paper. So by using the white, we're adding an undertone to make it much brighter when you get into the color. All right, so I'm just finishing up on the left side, and now we can hop over to add some different spiral shapes to the right. This is also a really great exercise for your hand-eye coordination. So being able to look at the piece we have here and with your eyes, and then coordinating your hand to create a similar design. Okay. So I'm pretty much done adding all these spiral shapes with my white colored pencil. And so think of this as like the skeleton. So right now we just have these lines, and now we want to add some more color on top. So before I get into any of the earth tones, the browns and the light browns, I'm going to look for the areas where I see the white. So these are the areas where he's added pearls. And so I'm looking for, you know, almost like a puzzle, like looking for, you know, where to match them. So I see one up here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a circle. And then there is a little stone in the middle, so I'm going to leave a little bit of the black showing. So it looks like a little donut. And then you can go ahead and just start to fill that in. Great. Now I'm just going to keep adding these little dots of white and filling them in wherever I see them to match it to the original. So one of the main reasons why I'm really happy you guys are joining me for our famous artists lessons is because it's so great as young artists, just the beginning of your artistic practice, to learn about all the different styles, all the different types of materials, and just to familiarize yourself with different ways of working. So that's also known as a process. And so Klimt used a very detailed process, and he thought a little bit more like a sculptor than he did like a painter or an artist that was into drawing. So he thought in layers and building up layers of different types of materials. So think of your pencil as working with different materials. Like right now, I'm just imagining the white that I'm adding is becoming these beautiful pearls. And then the next color I'm going to do, I'm going to add some stones. So just changing the way that you think about your process can really help you as an artist. And the other thing I should mention is if you don't like this style, that's also something to remember, because you don't have to like everything that we do in here, and that's the beauty of art. Everyone has their own style, just like you guys all have your different type of clothing style. You like to wear, you know, certain colors or certain prints, different designs. That's the same thing with art. So you're always, you know, just aligning what you're wearing or what you're creating to, you know, your own style. Okay, so I'm just about done with the little white specks, and now I'm going to get into my browns. So earth tones are called earth tones because they are literally colors that come from the earth. So the colors I've chosen, if you have Prismacolors like me, colored pencils, the colors that I've chosen are sienna brown, right here, mineral orange, and goldenrod. So I have this like almost yellowish brown, more orange, and a more reddish brown. So I'm going to start with the yellow brown, or, you know, also known as goldenrod. And I'm just going to start to fill in the areas within my tree trunk. So right now we have this really empty space, and we want to fill it with our tree trunk color. So I'm just going to start right underneath our pearl right here, and I'm going to add this color onto the tree trunk. Now, you also want to think about the pressure that you're using with your pencil. So for example, if I barely touch it, barely touching the paper, really light pressure, I can get this color that's darker because the darkness of the paper beneath it. But if I'm pressing really hard, I'm going to get a much brighter, lighter value, and it's going to be more saturated. So you're going to want to use a lot of pressure with this color specifically because we have these really bright golden colors coming through. And this is going to go from top of the tree trunk and then all the way down to the bottom of the tree trunk. All right, so I am almost finished filling in the tree trunk. And from here, I'm just going to start to follow along the curves. From here, you know, I have filled this area in, so I know the direction the branches are going to go. And so I'm just going to continue using this color for the middle and creating the color and the texture of the tree branches. So you can really just follow along the line that you have created for the tree branch here. And the nice thing is the white will just show through really nicely and kind of brighten the overall value. So also pay attention to, you know, the picture here, pay attention to the width. So that is how big or small something is. So, you know, the width of the tree is really big at the bottom, becomes a little bit more of like a medium size, and then it gets thin and very, very skinny at the end of the tree branches. All right, so from here I'm going to add this brighter yellowish brown to the left side, this branch right here. And so you can just add, so I have the bottom of the branch, but I want to add the width right here. So see this curved line right here. So I'm going to curve down and I'm going to have it meet. So this is running parallel, which means it's running right next to the white line and following along. And then this space right here is going to be filled in. So we're basically just fattening up the tree branches, creating a little bit more width, and making the color stand out a little bit more. Okay, so the next thing we can do is move to the next color. So the next color that I have is kind of like a more orange, warmer brown. So moving on, we can add, if you can tell the difference, it's a little bit brighter on the left side and slightly darker on the right. So it's a little bit more of like this orange color here. So I'm going to just start adding this orange onto my paper and just following along the white outlines we've created, and then adding that little bit of width to the tree trunk here. And the colors are very close, and so you can actually, layer them on top of each other and brighten it up even more. Okay, so just keep working, just keep chugging along, adding these curved lines. So I'm going to add it all to the right side here, and then a little bit in the bottom left. All right, so as I'm working, I'm just going to read to you guys a little bit about the symbolism. So a lot of artists will start to use different symbols. So a good example of symbols is the Egyptian hieroglyphs. So some of you have heard of them before, where you see a picture. It's like a little doodle or drawing of something, and it means something else. So the actual design is a symbol that has a meaning. So another example would be, a stop sign. So the red hexagon shape, it creates this symbol for us. And so even though, we don't always read it, we might just see it in the corner of our eye that we know that it's a stop. Or, the red, yellow, and green stop lights. Those don't even have any letters or words on them, but, we know that red means stop, yellow means slow down, and green means go. So Klimt had an entire meaning and symbolism behind this piece. And so for him, the swirling branches created a mythical symbolism which suggested life. And the way that the branches would twist and turn and spiral in different directions would create these long vines and fragile threads. So some of them are very small. And to him, that symbolized life itself. So life is so complex, and there's so many different paths and routes we can go, or so many different people we can meet. Like each one of these spirals could be a person that you've met and your experience and your memories with them. So it's really cool to learn about the symbolism that artists have. And a lot of the times we don't even really know what the symbolism is unless the artist talks about it. Sometimes there's people who write about art and they think they know what the symbolism is, but we don't really know unless we ask the artist who created it. The cool thing is, with art, everyone can have a different symbolism, and everyone can see different things within the work, which is a really beautiful thing about art, because it creates an opportunity for everyone to add to the experience and have their own language around the art. So art is a visual language, just like, math is a different type of language too. So the tree of life is actually something that comes up in many different cultures and many different religions, and is very symbolic for a lot of different people around the world. And so it's cool to learn, all these different symbols and the meaning behind them, because it just adds a whole nother layer to our work. It makes it elevated. It makes it more interesting than just the beauty behind the piece. Okay, so we're almost done here. I've added all of the orange up in the top right here and a little bit in the bottom left, and then the remaining swirls I'm going to add the reddish brown. So this one is called Sienna. And this one is a darker brown. It's going to create another, earth tone for us. So just add this onto your piece. Okay, So I'm just finishing up these swirls. And then the last step is something you can start thinking about while you are finishing up your swirls, is how are you going to add different colors, or what colors do you want to add into the bottom. So in the original you can see all these beautiful little patchwork of flowers. Gustav Klimt really loved patterns, and so he would create patterns out of different types of things he found in nature. So this is, a pattern that he created for a tree, but he also has patterns of many different flowers and fields of, flowers or plants, gardens, that kind of thing. So I want you to just start thinking about the colors you want to add to your flower patches. And for those of you that are really into rocks and gems, I know a lot of you really love collecting them and looking at the beautiful colors and different textures you can get with the rocks and gems. You can think about those, because those are the actual things that he would use to create the patterning. So, some of my favorite gems are turquoise or opal, which is a beautiful pearly color. It has almost rainbow tones to it. Lapis lazuli is a really beautiful blue. So you can start to think about those for the bottom here. So just grab a few different colors, and for here, this is a really flattened image. It's very decorative. It's not very realistic. So you can just go ahead and add some different, different shapes, circles, squares, different shapes of the colors that you want to use, and fill them in. Well, this is a really beautiful turquoise. I'm going to add some blue and some violet. And also, if you wanted to, check what the color looks like, you could always turn your paper over and, try it on the back a little bit, see if you like it. Okay, and then I think I'll just add a little bit of like bright yellow. See this curved line of bright yellow on the right of the tree. But you can really add whatever colors you want. This time is a little bit more free and open, so just feel free to add what you'd like in the background there. And then the last thing we want to do for this bottom area is to add the brown. So I'm going to go back to the yellowish brown. Let me sharpen that first. And then you can just use it, if you actually, if you rotate your paper a little bit, you can use the flat side of the pencil. And add all of this into the ground here. And I'm using a lighter pressure, so I have a slightly different type of texture for the ground versus the tree trunks. All right, and then lastly, if you do have your metallic or a paint pen like this, for these you just need to shake them up, and then you can use them to add little specks of gold. So he has these like triangular little symbols, so you can do a straight line and then do little triangles you can just do little dots of it. And this really like adds, you know, like I said, it adds this beautiful shine to the piece. Adds a whole nother layer to it. It's so beautiful, just like adding these little tiny decorative designs creates so much of an interesting kind of look for our piece. Okay, so that is it for our Gustav Klimt. I hope you guys really enjoyed creating this beautiful patterned piece. The last thing you can do is sign it. Usually artists sign in the bottom right hand corner, as you can see his signature here. And I'm looking forward to seeing your beautiful trees of life.